HR International Day to all my distinguished HR professionals. It is good to see this fraternity growing. Today, we would be discussing what the CEOs expect from HR. We are living in a very disruptive environment and things are not as they used to be earlier. The challenges of HR are increasing day by day. As the world is becoming tough and as the working environment are getting tougher, so are the expectations from the HR department getting tougher day by day. So the expectations from organization to organization vary, but certainly one thing is common, that is they are very high because they are the bridge between the workforce and the management. Today's management is very diverse. We have a multi-generational workforce, and the role of HR is to ensure that they speak the language that is for both. They can't have a tilt towards one, that is management, or towards the employees. Managing the balance is what is pivotal for the HR. HR, as rightly said by Zahid Saab, is becoming strategic, and it is still not very positive to see that only 33% of the HR is strategic. We would like to see it above 70%. And I'm very sure the way things are moving, that day would be very near, that we would see more and more HR, more and more CHROs playing a very, very strategic role, and they are part of the board everywhere. So now talking about what we expect from HR. As a CEO of an HR company and somebody who has been an HR professional at the start of a career, to me HR role is very, very dear and near to my heart, because I see they are the flag bearer of the culture of an organization. And as rightly said by the earlier two distinguished speakers, culture is at the epitome of everything for an organization. Unless we have the right culture, no strategy would work. Culture is what builds the organization. Culture is what breaks the organization. So HR has to play a role where they are at the center stage of building the culture of an organization. When we talk of competencies, HR is no more a generic role that we have seen in the survey also that Zahid circulated a while ago. HR is no more a generic role. It requires competencies, and these competencies are very, very pivotal for the success of any organization, not just the professionals, but for the success of the organization. You just can't master every competency, but at least one has to be a jack of all and master at least few which are most critical to an organization. It depends on the organization to organization and the expectations. So for me, if I talk from the perspective of a CEO of a human resource company, three competencies are very, very crucial for the HR department or the CHRO of my organization, starting from business acumen being the first and the foremost. Second is critical thinking, and the third is communication collaboration. I will start with communication because that is crucial. And post-pandemic, it has become very, very important because it was only the communication channels that kept the business going during those days. Had it not been the communication through various channels, through various means, organization would have doomed to disaster in those days. And so was the case in our organization. We have an employee base of over 60,000 plus employees. And it was the role of our HR and the line HR, which we call service delivery, that maintain an effective communication with all the employees spread all across Pakistan through various channels that kept the organization going and that kept the other clients also going, because we were the service provider for a lot of organizations, and had we not developed that communication channels, we would not have been successful. What is at the center stage of all the communication is empathy, transparency, and simplicity. It is not about the language. It is about getting your message across. And HR has to understand what language do they speak to make their employees understand what is the message, what needs to be sent across. And I think my HR did a fantastic job in doing that. Second important critical competency that I would like to highlight is critical thinking. HR has always shied away from numbers. You have to be proficient with numbers. Today is the era of numbers and analytics and data. And if you are unable to decipher information from data, you would not be able to support your management, support your CEO with the right decision making. Decision making is dependent on right insights. Data is of no use unless it has meaningful insight for decision making. So this is an area where HR has to excel. HR has to gain mastery and be very, very comfortable with. Again, I will share an example where we were struggling with employee motivation when the service delivery team would work late, and the support team, service delivery team is the front end team that handles the clients, and the back end team, which is mostly shared services and finance. So they would have to work late because of the service delivery team. Service delivery team is client facing. They sit late to ensure the customer is satisfied. They at times have to work with different zone clients also, and that was the reason why the support team would also work late. That was creating friction and dissatisfaction and upsetting the work-life balance for the employees. HR got to the root of this problem, had a session with all the employees, different surveys were done just to identify how can we address this problem. And then ultimately they came up with a very smart solution. That was, we started having flexi schedules for the service delivery team. One would come at the regular hour and the other would come at an extended time, so that they could sit late, ensure that all the last moment requirements of client are met, and at the same time they would ensure that they complete the pre-work for the back-end team, so that when they come the next morning they have enough time, enough work to complete before the second schedule of service delivery starts. So it was a creative way of coming up to a conclusion that not only enhanced the efficiency, the work quality, but it enhanced the employee engagement also. So it's very important that HR department works closely with the team, understand the problem, should have their pulse reading at all times, so that they can take creative corrective measures proactively rather than waiting for the situation to aggravate and result in unnecessary issues for the organization. Third and last but most important is business acumen. If HR understands the business in and out, they understand the value chain of every activity that a business is involved in, can certainly be a trusted partner for the CEO, because that way they understand what is required, how an activity is performed, and how a simple activity has an impact on the bottom line of the organization. When they think from this perspective, when they see things from this lens, the outcome is very, very different, because HR has the challenge of ensuring business growth through productivity and through performance of its employees. And performance of employees can only be attained if they are motivated, engaged, they feel valued, and they understand the contribution that they are making to the organization. All this seems simple, but has a lot to do to make sure that this value creation is understood and drilled down to the lowest level. Each and every person in the organization is there to create value. And the only person, only department that can instill this feeling is HR. And that is why HR has to understand the complete value chain. and they would come up with solutions that at times others don't even think. I would again share an example that we, being the service provider for a lot of multinational banks, used to do verification of, were compelled to do verification services for a lot of banks, and the requirements were next level. We used to do simple verification, but these requirements were very, very different. We gave the task of sourcing and managing the whole department to HR, and they initially they struggled, but they came up with good talent, and we were able to set up a department. Initially it was very difficult because we were unable to manage the expectations of both the departments. There were conflicts. The front end department had to answer the client due to delays, and the back end department was dependent on universities and previous employers. So there were frictions. Again, HR came into play. They ensured that the collaboration is there. They made sure whatever could be done through system intervention, through training, they did that. And once everything was smooth, then came the exit of these banks from Pakistan. So a sizable department was about to become redundant. And that was the time when the CHRO came up with an idea that why don't we start this as a standalone service? All organizations need verification services. Previously, we were offering it for our outsourced employees only. Why don't we offer this service for the FTEs of organization? This idea was an instant hit, and in 18 months' time, a cost center was turned into a profit center. And today, after 7-8 years, it's a significant contributor to the overall revenue of HRSG. So it's just how proactive the HR was, and how the business acumen competency was put to use by the HR department, that we were able to add on a service offering, which is mashallah doing very good for the overall organization. So the crux of the matter is HR has to get out of the silos, understand, be part of the business, be part of every department, and make sure that they have the insight of what the organization would look like in years to come. If they do not have that foresight, they would not be able to develop the talent pool for future. And that is what is required. HR is faced with a lot of challenges. We talk about other departments, what the CEO expect, what the marketing expect, but we need to understand there are a lot of challenges for HR also, and we should understand that there is dearth of talent. So for finding that talent, they need the support from the management to ensure that they have given enough time, ample resources to ensure they hire right. When they hire right, the first step is taken in the right direction. And with all this, they can offer better solution to the management, and help in sustainable growth for the organization. Without HR, I don't think we can think of getting the right talent. Without HR, we can move in the right direction. So it's very, very important that we are also empathetic to our HR department and show some sign of acceptability when they are struggling. So I will close by saying the behavioral competencies of business acumen, talent, critical thinking, and communication are essential for HR professionals to effectively support the strategic objectives of the organization, to drive success, to drive the vision and purpose of the organization. By demonstrating these competencies, HR professionals can establish themselves as strategic partners, trusted advisors, and change agents within the organization, contributing to a culture of innovation, collaboration, and high performance. Again, my emphasis is culture of innovation, collaboration, and performance. And at the center of all these things lies the HR.